What's up, everyone? What's up, Tracy? So as you can see here, probably doesn't have a lot to do with peak week, but my little boy Gavin wanted me to show everyone the robots that he makes out of the trash that we have in the house. So I promised him I'd do this tonight before we start talking about peak week. He even built his very own robot to scare his brother when he came out of his room. It's pretty funny. So Gavin, I'll show you this later, buddy. I just want you to know I showed everyone. So, all right, heading here to the war room. What's up, Kevin? I didn't know your old ass could stay up this late, man. All right. All right, Kelly and Brandon are here from Omaha. Awesome. Yeah, Kevin, I know. Once you get over 50, you have to take those naps. I've got a cure for that. Can't stay out of bed problem that you had. Just drink a white trash energy drink. So, what's up, Amanda? What's up, Katie? Jack, what's up? We're going to let it keep filling up for just a few more minutes, folks, and then we'll get started. Looks like, I started going over everything, and this is probably going to be a two-part thing. And honestly, I'm probably going to drag it out into a week because I want to talk about more than just one style of peaking. So, yeah, I just bought 10 more cases, Katie, of those energy drinks. They were $10 a case, some big promo they're doing, so... Yep, there you go, Kevin. That'll keep you regular. All right, so for everyone that's new, here's what you want to do. Go ahead and swipe across the bottom of your screen, right? And it'll give you an option to share. Go ahead and share that with your followers. It just gives them a notification to maybe tune in or watch us later if they need help with peak week or if they want to check out what we're doing. So what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to cover peak week, and I want to give you a bulletproof peak week, something that I do with a lot of guys and girls that's really worked over the years. And honestly, I can say that I've never really spilled anyone on this peak week that I'm about to show you. So one of the reasons why I want to do this in a couple parts, it's probably going to end up being like 4 or 5 parts because I want to cover all the different types of ways to peak, whether it's front loading, back loading, loading the day before really, really hard. A lot of people know that, as Cliff Wilson's come to call it, rapid backloading. Loading starting the morning of. There's all kinds of different ways to load. I've really done them all over the years, and I want to show everyone all the different ways. But today I want to show you the bulletproof peak week. That's what I call it, and it revolves around a front load. But before we get into this, what I want to do is see the hearts on the right-hand part of the screen. I know there's a lot of people that are new. You haven't really figured out Periscope yet. If you just tap, right? If you just tap on your screen as you watch this, you don't have to do it the whole time. That's fine. Just tap and try and give, 500, 1,000 hearts, whatever. It's not too hard. Go ahead and just keep tapping. That helps elevate the broadcast, helps get it out to more people. It helps rank it. It really helps with what we're trying to do here. So we have a good number. It looks like we have 40 in here, which this is the 3rd or 4th one I've done. The very first one had like 20, so it's growing, and looks like it's doing good. So let me go ahead and talk about what we're going to cover today in the first part. Peak week. So I want to start off by saying this. I want to say that I want to go over this bulletproof peak week because this is one everyone can do. It doesn't matter how lean you are. And the truth of the matter is, and guys, don't get pissed off when I say this, but when I go to a show, 9 out of 10 people that I see on stage could stand to be a little bit leaner. Very, very rarely will you see the majority of people in a show that are lean enough. It just isn't. That's just the way it is. And to do a lot of these other peaking styles, like a rapid backload or a backload or start loading real hard the morning of, you really need to be completely shredded for everything to look right, for you to fill out and not really run into issues. A lot of people, they're not lean enough, and then they start blaming their peak week for why they don't look right on stage. So this peak week, really, even if you need to lose another 3 or 4 pounds, for example, some guys maybe they still need to lose 5. This peak will still have you looking your best. But no matter what, this isn't magic bullshit. All right, everyone needs to get that out of their mind. Peak week is not a time where you're going to do a bunch of tricks. Actually, if anything, it's going to make you look worse. So for those of you that have competed and you've never just quite gotten as lean as you need to be, you're off a few pounds, maybe 4 or 5 pounds, this plan will still help you, because one of the things I've always wanted to do is put out an article on how to peak if you're not lean enough, because 9 out of 10 people I see on stage just aren't lean enough. So we're going to cover that, but this will also work if you're lean enough too. I mean, this is just going to help you look your best and explain to you what not to do, so you don't, if you look good, you don't want to go in there and just fuck everything up during peak week, which is very, very common. So with that being said, what you need to expect. So here's what you need to expect during peak week. Peak week isn't a week for you to try and lose another 2 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds off your body. If anything, that's going to possibly lead to you looking worse. Peak week, you should be coming into peak week, working your ass off, trying, some of you, if you can get ready early, that's great, actually. If you can get ready, a couple weeks before or even farther and eat your way into a show, that's awesome. But most people, you're coming in sideways, pedal to the metal, you're coming in sideways, trying to lose every single little ounce of fat that you can right before you step on stage. Peak week, really past Tuesday, as you'll see the weekly outline that I have for you, past Tuesday, you're not going to get a whole lot of fat loss done. That actually needs to be a time to optimize the way your physique looks, train, keep carbs in you, and just focus on looking your best. So that's what you should expect coming into peak week. All the hard work should mostly be done. At this point, it's just fine-tuning and get ready to hit the stage. Some of the common mistakes that I see people make is definitely that they're not lean enough. So the thing that they try and bank on is their peak week. Whether it's their guru coach or their trick method of using diuretics and cutting water and manipulating salt, different various ways, and throwing potassium sky high through the roof. They expect all these magic tricks to work to dry them out. We're going to talk about drying out here in a minute. They expect all these things to work and get their physique where it's supposed to be, when 99% of the time they're just not lean enough. Or this is really bad, because I get this all the time. I actually just had someone message me earlier, wanted me to give them another look. They were completely shredded and they still felt like they had a small film of skin, or film of water under their skin, and actually they're spot on. And they're mentally playing games with themselves. So now the whole plan is start cutting water back starting on Wednesday to try and dry out and all this shit. So some of the common mistakes revolve around trying to use all these tricks to manipulate your physique, when you should be looking at your physique all the way up to peak week and during peak week to see when you look your best. So you shouldn't be coming into peak week not knowing when you look your best. That's the whole key. You want to know when you look your best weeks out. You want to pay attention when you're in the gym. If you're taking pictures in the morning, if you're taking pictures in the afternoon after you train, you need to pay really, really close attention to when you look your best. And if you're working with a coach, if a coach is any good at all, they're going to be paying real close attention when you look your best. They're not just going to guess, right? They're going to be looking at, I have my folks, at least, I have them send me pictures the morning of, certain days of the week. I say, hey, send me some pictures in the morning when you're a little flat and you don't have any food or water in you, and then send me pictures later that day when you have food, water, salt, and all that in you, and we're going to see when you look your best. 9 times out of 10, people look better once they're pretty lean. They look better later on in the day when they have salt, water, carbs, food. Maybe they're not eating many carbs, but whatever, they have salt and water is the main thing. They have that in them, and it fills their muscle out, and they look better. Water doesn't make you look watery, right? And we're going to talk about that here in a bit. So you should be paying close attention leading up to peak week, right? So that's something that you should expect. You should be expecting to make yourself be able to look your best, right? Let's talk about drying out for a minute. I touched on that earlier. Here's the thing. If you're 3, 4, 5 pounds away from stage, if you think you're going to dry fat cells out, if you think you're going to dry your ass cheeks out to where all of a sudden you're going to have shredded glutes by drying out, by cutting water, using a diuretic, playing with salt levels, you can dry out. I can promise you that. But here's the thing. You're going to dry the inside of your muscle out. that's what's going to happen. Because when you use a diuretic, it doesn't matter if it's, if it's something you have to have a script for, something that's a little bit harsher, or if it's an over-the-counter diuretic, whatever. Hell, water is a diuretic, and we're going to talk about that as well. If you up your water, a lot, water can act as a diuretic, and it's a small little trick that I use. We'll talk about that. But diuretics, just taking diuretics and trying to dry out, it doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you're a 250-pound IFBB pro bodybuilder or you're a 170-pound natural athlete. When you take a diuretic, you're going to pull water out of your body, and most of the water you're going to notice is going to come from inside your muscle cells, where you're supposed to be full and round. So a lot of people use a balloon as the example, right? Imagine a balloon completely full. That's the skin of your muscle, right? It's nice, round, it's pushing out against the skin. When you take a diuretic, you pull the water out of your muscle, you pull it out from underneath your skin, you pull it from different various parts of your body, everywhere, equally. You can't just pull water out from underneath your skin. It just doesn't work that way. You can't trick your body. Your body's way smarter. So when you actually use a diuretic, you pull water everywhere. Well, a lot of your muscle is water. So when you pull water, it's going to flatten out. It's going to look like an old shriveled up balloon. Then when you try and get a pump, it's very, very hard to get a pump, and you just don't look the same. And if you're not lean enough, here's the big thing. If you're not lean enough and you take a diuretic, right, and you cut your water, especially both those two combined, you flatten your muscle out and you still have more fat on top, visible fat to lose, you're going to be flat and you're going to be soft. And it's going to make you look even softer. And this is where I have people say, oh, I spilled. I was watery. I looked watery, but I didn't drink much water, so I don't get it. I spilled. I ate too many carbs. No, you didn't. You flattened out and you weren't lean enough. It's the combination of those two things. So I want to let you know, if you're trying to dry out, it's not going to happen. Hold on a second. I have something popping up on my screen. All right. So here's where people think drying out and using diuretics and carbing up without much water actually come into play. If you're a 250-pound IFBB pro, right, or if you're a very large athlete, whether you're a large natural athlete, weighs 200 pounds, 210, 190, whatever. If you're a bigger natural guy, or if you're a big assisted guy, right, large amount of muscle, if you dry out, you're still so freaking big and thick that it gives you the impression that that's how you look completely sharp, when 99% of the time it's just the fact that you were so lean and you could give up a lot of water like that and you still looked big, round, and full because you're just fucking big, period. So that's what it is. The diuretic doesn't make you look your best. Imagine if you were lean enough, if you filled out and you didn't drop 10 pounds trying to dry out and you actually filled up another 5 or 10 pounds. It's huge. It's a huge difference. So that's where a lot of people, they see these bigger guys using it. They can get away with it because even when all the water's sucked out of them, they still look good. They still look shredded and big. So then you get a 170-pound natural guy who looks like a freaking twig when he does it, and it backfires. So, John, how do we define lean enough? It depends on the category, right? So really you need to go, there's some websites that have pictures posted up. Follow some of the top coaches that'll post pictures of their athletes that have won pro cards, that have won shows. That gives you an idea of what lean enough is. If you're a bodybuilder, you really need to worry about being striated everywhere. You need to have full abs. If you're a natural guy competing, you really need to have shredded ass cheeks. If you can genetically get there, not everyone can, but you need to be diced, right? Sub 5%. So some men's physique guys is going to vary. Same with women, but the best thing is to not necessarily go off body fat, but to go off what the look is for the criteria. Look at some of these girls that are winning. If you're a female, look at girls that are winning these shows that you want to do. That will tell you what lean enough is. If it's a big show, that'll tell you what lean enough is. So, all right. So, got off on drying out because I get so pissed off when I talk about that. Here's the thing. I've done it all, guys. I've done it all. I haven't competed in 5 years, but I personally have done it all except for the right way because I haven't competed in 5 years. My clients are doing it what I consider the right way now and what's really worked well for me. But I've done all of the tricks, even with clients back when I first started. And I can tell you, this peak week I'm about to show you now, blows them all out of the water. And I know a lot of people I know there's going to be coaches watching this on the replay, and you're going to think, oh man, that's just too simple. Well, okay, look, and this isn't being egotistical, because you can look at other coaches' guys too. You can look at our guys. 99% of the time, they're lean. They're doing very well in the show, right? If we have someone that's not lean enough, we tell them, hey, pick a different show. So very rarely do we have someone do a show that's not lean enough, because we just explain it to them. Look, you're just not lean enough. You need to push and do it a little bit a farther show down the road. So if you look at some of our athletes, you'll see that they don't have any problems peaking, right? And most of our athletes are doing well. I mean, not everyone wins. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you don't see clients of ours getting up there looking all watery and all fucked up and shit. And the reason why I say that is, look at this peak week that I'm about to show you. It's a bulletproof peak week, and it just freaking works, hands down. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about coming into the week, all right? So let me go ahead and show you the schedule here for a second. But say you're paying real close attention to your body for 2 weeks out, right? You're keeping everything the same. You're watching pictures. You're having a weekly carb up, possibly, and you're watching to see when you look your absolute best. So say you train at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you take pictures after you train, and you're vain. If you're a guy, you're veiny, you're vascular, you're nice and full, you don't look watery, you look good, right? You have veins everywhere. That's what you should expect coming into peak week. You should train, take your shirt off to take a look at yourself in the mirror and practice posing and be like, man, this is good. Or you're like, man, I'm just right there. I'm super, super close. That's what you should be. But you should be paying close attention to where you look your best. Females, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Even if you're not completely lean enough, you should know when your body looks its absolute best. All right? And you should see that when you practice your posing. So you might practice it in the morning with no food and water in you, practice it in the evening when you have all your food and water in you, and see when you look your best. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I have here. Now, we're all familiar, or you should be familiar with the different terms for peak week. I want to show you the front load. And a lot of people write this off, right? They say, oh, the front load, it's not advanced enough. Well, remember what I said at the very, very beginning. 9 out of 10 people aren't lean enough, right? So you don't need to be thinking about trying to load on a Friday super hard. You need to be thinking about how to replicate when your body looks its best. So this is the peak week. I guarantee anyone watching this right now, if you're close to stage, close to lean enough, you can do this peak week. And here's the thing. You're going to be able to get a big pump backstage. You're not going to look watery. You're going to be able to drink water. You're going to be able to have salt. You're not going to go through any of these crazy ass setups. And you're going to feel damn good. You're not going to feel like you'd rather have sex with a glass of water than eat pizza, because I've been there. I've lost shit. I mean, I've went Friday and drank 1 liter of water and then no water on Saturday and just, felt horrible. So this is what I want to show you guys. So this is peak week, part 1. And I'm going to talk about a lot here. I'm going to talk about the weekly schedule. And there's some stuff in asterisks here. And then I want to talk about your water and salt during the week. But let's start with Monday. Let me try and get my laser clicker here just in case I need it. All right, so let's talk about Monday. Historically, what I found, let's go ahead and skip to Tuesday. Tuesday, I found, has been a great place for people to do their carb up, their refeed. Now, if you've been having a weekly refeed carb up, maybe it's an extra 100 or 200 grams of carbs, whatever your carb up is, that's when you need to be starting to pay attention a few weeks out when you look your best. So if you've been doing your carb up on a Tuesday, for example, you need to be looking at yourself Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons to see how you look there just on your normal training day diet. Maybe you do a carb up on Tuesday and you look better on Friday, right? Well, then when it comes time for peak week, then you just move your carb up to a Wednesday. So maybe you look better on a Thursday. If you've been doing it on Tuesday and you look really good by Thursday and then you start to flatten out and not look so good here, maybe you need to do your carb up here. But what I have found is Monday is the day that you go in, you train, you do your normal cardio, you're still pushing your ass off, you do your normal diet here that you've been doing leading up to peak week, because the last thing you want to do is change a bunch of shit, right? And real quick, talking about food, don't go changing your food, eating a bunch of stuff that you haven't eaten. The last thing you want to do is throw your digestive system for a whack You don't want to start. You definitely don't want to start flexible dieting and start eating Pop-Tarts and ice cream and shit if you haven't been eating that all during your prep. And if you have been eating that during your prep, just leave it the same. Just stick to what's normal. It's 1 week. So Monday, normal day, right? Everything stays the same. Water. You keep the same on Monday, and your salt. See here, I put 2 to 5 grams of salt daily. I put that there because here's the thing. Females don't need as much salt as larger guys, right? And salt really depends a lot, not on just body size, but also how much water you're drinking. So the more water you drink, the more water you need. If not, you'll start leaching out salt out of your body. So you actually need to keep your salt high. I tell people leading into peak week, all during their prep, their salt should be up there pretty well. They should be having a salt at every meal because it's an electrolyte, right? And it helps with muscular contraction, helps fill the muscle out, everything. Low salt is the most horrible mistake that you can ever make. So salt should be high leading into peak week. And then once we get over here, salt pretty much just stays high, right? And then you'll notice it says high down here. That's for the day of the show. And we're going to talk about that in part 2, right? I just want to lay the week out so everyone can get this. I know there's people that are watching this that are peaking this weekend. So this part I want to do now, and then we'll talk about day of the show the next day or two. Tuesday, do your refeed. Your normal refeed that you've been doing. If you haven't been doing a refeed, this is the time here to add carbs. So if you're a female, you might add an extra 50 carbs. If you're a guy, you might add an extra 100 to 200 carbs. That part you have to figure out. I can't, it's just way too hard for me to give you a number. But you want to have more carbs than you have been having. Here's the thing. I used to load people huge here. Like Matt Holcomb one time ate 2,000 carbs on Tuesday. Hobie ate 2,000 carbs on a Tuesday. And then what we would do is we would try and clean the spill up here by the time they got to the day of the show. The better option is just to do a smaller refeed here that your body can handle. You don't have to try and clean a bunch of spill and all that shit up here, and then you look great on Saturday. So if you do a gigantic refeed here, you better know how your body's going to look about 4 days later. So train, refeed. I don't do cardio here. I tell my folks sometimes they do. If they're tough, right, and we're still trying to push just an ounce off, I'll have them do cardio here. But that could get in the way of some of the refeed. The main goal of the refeed here is to fill your muscles out so you look full and so you look your best come Saturday. So you want to hold on to as much of this as possible. Water's the same here on Tuesday. Salt's the same, right? It might actually be a little bit higher because if you're going to refeed with foods that might have a little extra salt, that's fine. All right, so Wednesday, this is after your refeed. Training, cardio, back to your normal diet. Notice I have an asterisk here by training and cardio. So here's the thing. Some people have a show in a couple weeks, or they're still trying to push some fat off. If this is your last show of the season, train here. Just train about 80%. Just go in and think about winning on Wednesday and Thursday. Just train about 80%. Just go in and get a slight pump. You're not going to change the way your body looks much this week, but what you can do is you can train so much that you flatten out a little bit or a little bit too much from the refeed. Remember, the refeed's here to help you fill out, to hold on to some carbs all the way down here on Saturday. So if this is your last show of the year, or the only show you're doing, just train 80% here and don't even do cardio, all right? You're not trying to clean up any spill here because you're only going to have a refeed that's going to fill you out enough without spilling, maybe an extra 100, 200 carbs, whatever. It depends on who you are. But don't even train and do cardio, or don't even do cardio here. Just do your normal day diet and train at about 80%. Go in, feel good, and visualize winning. Keep your water the same, okay? On Wednesday, keep your water the same. Salt the same. Down to Thursday, right? Now, remember, if you have another show coming up and you're still trying to train and push to get leaner, train hard here, do your cardio here. Maybe you have another show the next weekend, or you have another show in 2 to 3 weeks, and you're still trying to get leaner. Take advantage of these training sessions and push it. So, Thursday, right? All the way back over here. Now here's a little trick, and I hate to even say the words tricks, but this is what I've noticed anecdotally with my clients. I used to have them up their water way the hell out here, like, Monday all the way during the week. But what that did was, I told you earlier, water is a diuretic. If you up your water, it can actually push some off of you, and make you look a tad bit tighter. But the last thing you want to do is do all that shit for a whole week because it'll flatten out. 1 to 2 days of that, it's great. It's a nice little trick. So I usually tell my ladies, I'm like, have an extra liter of water. Most of my guys, I have them drink 2 extra liters of water. It just depends on the person. But your normal water intake has been staying the same leading up into peak week. Now you get to Thursday and Friday, that's a great time to go ahead and up your water. And here's the thing, especially on a Friday. Friday's an off day. You just want to do your off day diet and you just want to relax, focus on check-in, getting a tan, the whole 9 yards. Keep your water high here and your salt high, just like normal. And what you should notice each morning is that you wake up and you look just a tad bit tighter. Just a tad bit tighter. And that's just what I've noticed anecdotally over the years. Most people, they wake up, they do the refeed here, they look good Wednesday, they look good Thursday, they wake up Friday and they're like, hey, I look a little bit tighter. And then Saturday they wake up and they look really tight and they're like, man, this is really good. It's because they've had more water. They haven't cut their water, they've had more, and they've kept their salt high. So they're not at risk of flattening out by having too much water. It's only for 1 to 2 days. So that's a nice little trick that I've put together that really helps people the last couple days. If you need to tighten up just a tad, that just seems to really, really help. And I'm talking about like a small fraction. So I'll go ahead and leave this up here just for a second. Saturday, that's the day of the show. We're going to do a whole nother broadcast on this because that's something that I'm going to have to really break down differently because we've got figure, bikini, men's physique, and bodybuilding. And then we need to talk about the morning show versus night show. That's something I'm going to have to do a completely another broadcast on. So notice what we have here. You guys can screenshot this, right? So there's your screenshot there. Got it? Hey, Tracy, make sure you ask me that again here in a second. Screenshot your water and salt here. Remember, we're going to do a day of the show one, so don't worry about that. Okay, so take some questions, and here's the thing. I know I've left a lot of stuff out because there's so much to talk about, guys. Tracy, you just asked, is it going to hurt you to train on Friday? So here's the thing. I like to see my folks relax, right? Your body is stressed the hell out. I mean, prep will stress you the hell out. The day before the show with check-ins and tanning and running everywhere, you're stressed from that, right? I like to see a nice little cortisol drop by people just sleeping in, relaxing, hitting their off-day diet, walking around in baggy-ass clothes like bums because, that's what you feel like when you're getting tanned. You wear the baggy clothes and stuff. Just relax, hit your off-day diet, drink all your water, and focus on the show the next day. If you're trying to find a place to train, you're not going to make yourself look better unless you spilled. If you spilled on Tuesday and you went and ate, way too many carbs or you messed up, and some people mess up and they cheat on Thursday night and they just can't make it to the show. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people can't mentally make it and they cheat on their diet. Yeah, maybe you need to train on Friday and try and push some water off you. But here's the thing. If you just have a small amount of water that you're trying to get off you, when you up your water, that will do it. Back when I would spill people on purpose, I would spill them hard. Like Matt Holcomb, big ass natural competitor. He'd eat 2,000 carbs on Tuesday, and I would have him shredded by Saturday. And what would happen? Okay, Tracy, make sure you bring that up here again in a second. I didn't catch all that. So here's what would happen. I'd have Holcomb eat freaking 2,000 carbs on Tuesday, and he'd be a watery, bag of shit on Wednesday. Not too bad, but you know what I'm saying. Watered over, veiny, but just bloated and full. And he would start to slowly get better. Wednesday he would look better. Thursday he'd look better. Friday he would really start to look good because he'd be dropping that water off. And then Saturday morning of the show he'd be waking up and we'd be just making it, right? And it's because we'd be upping his water like crazy to clean the spill up. So that's the only time that you really need to worry about, training on a Friday. Other than that, there's no way I would want someone to train. 99% of the people that I have now, I tell them don't do cardio, don't train, do your off-day diet, and relax. So do I always keep salt high? I do. And most of the time it gets higher during peak week. If people haven't been keeping in. See, I tell people when I write their plans, I tell them, listen, keep salt high in your diet. Use mustard, sea salt, soy sauce, whatever it is, keep it high in your diet. And that's because the last thing you want to do is not have enough salt. So salt should be high coming into peak week, and I always keep it high. Here's what happens. Anytime you lower sodium, right, you're going to flatten out just a little bit. If you really lower it, you're really going to flatten out. That's just the way that it works. Sodium works like creatine at times. It pulls water inside your muscle and keeps it full. So I always keep salt high. And then the day of the show, that shit's sky high for most people. Now, I've had people where I've had to just keep it, moderate to low if they have a condition where they, the doctor says they can't have much salt, and that's fine. With people that have, very low sodium, I don't have them drinking a ton of water because it leaches electrolytes out of your body. So you have to really pay close attention to that stuff. And then, if you're really low sodium, right, and high water, you take a really bad route with aldosterone, a hormone being secreted that makes your body hold on to water. So you have to be real careful there. So I like to keep salt high, and I like to keep their water normal, and then I slightly up it the last couple of days, and it just seems to slowly just tighten them up a little. Nothing magical, just slightly tightens them up. Now, some people, they don't even need that, and I just have them keep their water the same all the way through. So that kind of gives you an idea. Salt it's always high. It should be. Now, high doesn't mean through the roof high. 2 to 5 grams is not too high. Think about it. You're exercising, you're doing cardio, and you're drinking a bunch of water each day. Things that leach electrolytes out. So you have to replenish, right? And, most people can take way more. If you take in more than your body needs, you just excrete it out, right? You go pee it out. So most people that freak out, they think they're going to hold a bunch of water from sodium. That's the people that stay low sodium all the time. Then they go have some sodium, and they hold water for a couple days, and they freak out and they go back to low sodium. I've actually helped a couple people here recently that are getting ready to compete in the next few weeks in this month. And they were low sodium, and they didn't know. They didn't tell me. And they kind of came on last second, and they didn't catch my notes that said keep your sodium high. So what I did is I had them start adding in sodium. I'm like, listen, start adding in sodium now. Here's what to expect. You're going to be a little watery for the next couple days. Your weight's going to jump up maybe a pound or two, depends on who you are. And after the second day, I've noticed that you look way better. Your pumps in the gym look better. You're more vascular. Your muscles are fuller. You feel better because you feel like shit on low sodium. So that's what to expect. So if you're low sodium right now and you're watching this, just add some salt into each meal. If you're female, 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt or maybe some mustard or something is fine. And keep your water up there. And you don't have to have your water through the roof, but just keep everything normal, add some sodium in, and watch. Your physique starts to look better. What other questions do we have about peak week? And then I want to tell you about one more that I do with people that just blows people away with a front load. They're just like, I can't believe that's all there is to it. I'll tell you about that in a second, but let's have some questions. Brandon, what are you laughing about? I'm not going to bust anyone out. So, Scott, all right, pizza. First of all, that's day of the show. I do have people eat pizza, and what that is that's a gigantic spike of sodium really close to the stage. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to save the day of the show stuff because that, if not, we're going to be on here for an hour and a half, and I want to split these up so people can go watch each one. What other peak week questions do you guys have? Don't be afraid to ask anything, even if it's way out there. So no one's going to jump on you. You ask diuretic questions, sodium, water, carbs. I don't care. So if you need help figuring out your refeed, throw it out there. We'll answer it now. Now's the time. All right, so while we're waiting for questions, wait for you guys to think. So here's what I do with a lot of guys, right? When I know they look... All right, see, here we go. Here comes some questions. Creatine through peak week. Chinese food. Anything to help keep vascular during the show. Always cold news vascularity. Okay, so we're going to talk about that real quick. Day of the show, we're going to talk about that, even though we're going to talk about the nutrition. But here's the thing. Most people look veiny, freaky in the gym, at home. They get out of the shower, they're all veiny. And they can't keep that on stage. Here's why. It's cold as hell backstage. Most of the time you're walking around on a concrete floor somewhere, and that pulls the veins right out of you. If you're walking around barefoot on a concrete floor, it's going to pull the veins right out of you. It's just cold back there. I mean, you're not in the gym training with your posing suit on. You know what I mean? So it's hard to keep it's hard to keep those kind of veins during the show. So the things that help your veins pop are water, salt, those two especially primarily. You don't even have to have a lot of carbs in your system to be vascular, because I have a lot of people on keto the day of the show, and we're going to talk about that. They're as vascular as all get out, and it's because they have water in their system and salt all day long, and that's a big, big key. So you're just not going to be able to get that super veiny, freaky look on stage, because most people just get cold, and that takes the veins away quick. Creatine. So here's the thing with creatine. I never have people pull creatine out. Ever. Creatine monohydrate's all you need. You leave that in because, one, it keeps your muscle full of water inside the cell. You don't hold water under the skin from creatine. You hold it inside. You see that there? Boom. You hold it inside the muscle cell, right? And that's where you want it. You drop creatine out, right, and you're training, your muscles aren't going to be as full as what you're used to seeing them. So you need to keep creatine in. And that's one of the main things with creatine. Never pull it out. That's some old guru bullshit that guys are like, oh, you're going to hold water, so you need to drop it. Well, they'll probably have you drop your sodium, your creatine. They'll have you drop your water down real low by the end of the week and none day of the show. And they'll have you eat hundreds, if not 1,000 carbs a day of the show. Everything that's backwards. So definitely don't drop creatine out. Let me tell you what I have guys do that they're just like, I can't believe it was this simple. I swear I've done this so many times, it's not even funny, especially females. We watch to make sure, if they're lean enough to get on stage and they're going to go do well, here's what we do. I have them do the peak week like we just laid out, and the day of the show, I have them wake up and I have them do their training day diet, just their training day diet, their normal water intake, right? And then I have them, whatever they're having during their workout, when they work out, some of them are having dextrose. Most of my clients, they're having dextrose during their training all the way up until the day of the show. So I leave that in. So they have some dextrose, some Gatorade. I usually have them drink Gatorade with some creatine in it. And they drink that and they simulate their workout, right? They just get a pump. They don't go do a whole damn back and biceps workout, for example, but they get a pump with bands and weights, and they're doing their training day diet. And most people are like, well, you're not manipulating anything? Well, no, because I've been watching them and they've been watching themselves during the week leading up to peak week, and they look lights out after they train. Their shoulders are big, they're lean in their stomach, they're lean everywhere. Why the hell would I want to change anything and start manipulating all these variables when that's exactly what people need? That's exactly what people need. Now, it's going to change. Sometimes people need to be a lot fuller. Like if you're a bodybuilder and you have to be fuller than you look, I understand that. So some of the variables need to change, like your carb up and stuff like that. But most people, you'll look your best if you coast in and you do your training day diet and keep your water the same and don't change a damn thing. And yeah, you're going to be going to the bathroom more than most people because most people aren't drinking water. But that's the only thing you have to worry about is you're going to have to go pee like you normally do all the time. I do that with a lot of people, especially females. And I mean, shit, it works. I mean, if the only thing that someone might need is they might need to be a little bit leaner, and nothing that we're going to do is going to change that. Trying to change all those variables just fucks them up and makes them look worse. So I've done that with a lot of guys, especially physique guys, men's physique guys. You don't have to be as lean as a bodybuilder, but you have to be pretty damn lean. And, I've seen guys send me their pictures middle of the week after they train, chest and shoulders and triceps or whatever, and they go do their posing and they look lights out and they're extremely full from the pump. Their abs are shredded. They don't have anything to lose. All they have to do is simulate that, right? Because if they look that good at 5 o'clock in the afternoon with all their salt and water and carbs in them, why the hell would you want to take that out? It's just guru bullshit. So that's a thing. I have people do that a lot. And that's usually with the front load. The picture I just showed you guys earlier. The certain body parts benefit better from back or front load on average. So, all right, so here's the thing. No, I mean, when you load, your body's going to accept the carbs and put them into the muscles that were trained the most recently. So here's the thing. If you trained legs a week ago, right, and last night you trained back and biceps, and then today you just train chest, shoulders, triceps, right? Basically your whole upper body. You're going to carb most of your upper body up because your legs haven't been trained for a week. So a lot of the times I'll set it up to where people are training, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they get all their body parts in. And then when they carb up, they'll essentially fill out their whole body. Now, men's physique guys, now Brandon's here watching. We just went over his body types. Okay, yeah, I got you. I'll come back to that, Eric. But as far as how to train during the week, right? So a men's physique guy, I'll actually have them train their legs closest to the show. Like Brandon's getting ready to do the Pro Natural Universe, and Brandon's going to train legs pretty hard on Thursday. Why? Because we don't give a shit if his legs are flat or not, or if he's holding water there from damage and stuff like that from just training the hell out of him. So a lot of guys, I'd like to actually have them, bodybuilders, train their legs earlier in the week. So maybe like on a Monday, and then they just train their upper body parts and just kind of cruise in so the legs can rest. You can usually see more leg separation in bodybuilders, so on and so forth. Sometimes with figure girls, women's physique, women too. So you have to really look at that. But body types. Okay, so Eric, you were wanting to know, how does the front load vary for body type, right? Actually, here's the thing. You should know coming in how you handle carbs and how you look for the weeks out, right? I got off of my train of thought here. With body types, it doesn't necessarily matter the body type. It matters how lean you are. And it matters what your body is used to coming in. Just trying to go back and think about your question in detail. So it really matters how lean you are. It matters how depleted you are. And it matters when you look your best. Now, and a few more of these that we're going to do, because we're going to do 4 or 5 of these, I'm going to talk about carving up closer to the show and how to push the carbs harder. But for this, it shouldn't matter what your body type is. It should matter about when you look your best leading in. So, what other questions do you guys have? You guys have kept the hearts going this whole time. That's awesome. Here's what I'm going to do. I have to teach tomorrow night at the university. And I think it's going to be a little bit later, but I'll put an announcement up, probably 8 or 9, and we'll go over the day of the show in detail. We'll go over that in detail, and we'll answer all the questions on what to eat the day of the show, how much water to have, and that will be in conjunction with this front load, right? And then it looks like probably the next day or 2 after that, we'll talk about backloading, loading closer to the show, and then what to eat the day of the show. But the one tomorrow about eating the day of the show, there's so much detail that I put into that so people understand. I'm not just going to talk about waking up and doing your train day diet to where you look the best. I've just talked about that. This one I'm going to put some detail in so you can understand about, if you're scared of drinking water, there's a way to drink some water but not drink tons. Not everyone wants to drink a ton of water the day of the show. A lot of people are nervous. They have trouble eating and drinking, period. So I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff in detail to keep you from spilling. I want you to understand what's going to make you spill and look watery the day of the show. And I also want to talk about peaking for the morning versus the night show, peaking, how to hold your conditioning for both. I want to talk about different scenarios there. So tomorrow, plus I'll have the big board there at the university because I'm just going to do it in the classroom after I'm done. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So if you guys don't have any other questions on the front load, keep this in mind. If you're watching this on the replay, keep this in mind. Think about the questions you have. So now you've got the front load down, right? You understand what to do. Think about what we're going to do the day of the show, all right? That's going to make a big difference, because that, you can do everything right on Monday through Friday, like I just told you, and everything can get all fucked up the day of the show. I've done it. I've done it to my clients. I've done it to myself. And I've got something that it's bulletproof. That's why I'm calling this bulletproof peaking. If you do it all right, you're not going to spill. How can water pills like Expel flatten you out? Because they're diuretics, right? Any diuretic that you use, even too much water, like I said earlier, water is a diuretic. Anything that you use that will pull water off of you pulls it from everywhere, right? It pulls it from inside your body. It pulls it from inside your muscle cells. It pulls it from under the skin. Most people take Expel and these other diuretics thinking that it's just going to pull the water out of here. What they don't understand, it does pull the water from here, but it pulls it from inside your muscle, and your muscle flattens out. You can't. There's absolutely no way. There is a way. All right. So let's do this, right? I used to carb people up and have them take in 3/4 of the amount of water that they needed to help those carbs seat in the muscle. I used to have them do that the day of the show, not long ago, actually. And it works. It's fine. Do you fill up as much as you could fill up? No. Does it keep you from spilling? Certainly it does. So here's the thing. I used to have people maybe only drink like 6 ounces. This is years ago. 6 ounces with each meal the day of the show, and I think they ended up getting like half a gallon of water in the day of the show. It was better than not drinking any, because I used to do that way back in the day. Holcomb, if he's watching this, he probably remembers. He would eat 1,000 carbs, and he'd have some Gatorade right before stage, and that was it. And that definitely wasn't optimal. He never filled up until the next day after he drank water. So I used to have people take in carbs and only drink 3/4 of the amount of water. So if they had like 50 grams of carbs, they would have like, whatever the amount of water was. I can't remember back then, maybe it's 6 ounces. So they would get some water to fill the muscle out. But here's the thing. You have to have water to take those carbs and store them inside the muscle. You have to. There's just no way possible. But here's what most people don't know. I used to wonder what would happen if you just carved your ass up big time, day of the show, just tons and tons of carbs, just eat, not drink any water. You'd never spill if you didn't drink water, right? Right. You wouldn't spill because you just won't. Here's the thing. You can't store those carbs in the muscle without water. You would use what little bit of water you have in your body. This isn't going to get you very far. And you would barely fill up. So here's where the carbs will go. You can store carbs inside the fat cell without water. So what do you think is going to happen? You go eat 1,000 carbs a day of the show and you're not drinking water. Think about that, right? It's not going to fill you out. It'll fill you out the first meal, but then you don't have any water left. You're not taking any in. So that's a big mistake that most people make. They try and carb up really hard. A lot of gurus have people cut their water off Friday night and they just start carving their ass up. And they just eat all night Friday night, all day the day of the show. They don't drink any water. And they're trying so hard to fill out, they never do. And then the show's over and they start drinking water and they look like a damn freak show 2 hours later. And they're posting pictures on Instagram. Look at the veins going up, looking all crazy. And that's why. You have to have water for those carbs to ignite and actually get inside the muscle cell. So what other questions do you guys have? This is just the basic one, guys. I'm going to get so geeky with this shit, but this is the one 9 out of 10 people can do. And honestly, most people watching this, if you can't get lean enough, this is the one that you need to do, right? You don't need to do any crazy shit. This is the one that will work. And at least you can go up on stage and you know that you look your absolute best. You don't have to worry about if you need to pull this or cut that to make this go away. It just doesn't work like that. No other questions? All right, real quick, one more thing. This coming week, I'm going to give this stuff away. Keep giving the hearts, guys. I appreciate it more than you can even imagine. We're going to get this broadcast up and going. I want to get back to a ton of people just by doing these Q&As and just going over this stuff. We're going to give this out to 2 or 3 people. Keep those hearts coming. I'm paying attention to who the hustlers are, who the ones that are giving a ton. So that I'll be making an announcement soon this week, probably after I teach on Monday and Tuesday. Any other questions that you guys have? Guys, Brandon and Kelly, they're on here. They're getting ready to compete at the Natural Universe. Brandon's a pro. Kelly's going for a pro card. So want to wish you guys luck. I'll be down in Austin, Texas this weekend, and I'll be posting updates from there for them. So when would peak week start, actually? So I hate to even call it a peak week, even though you do peak to look your best. Peak week should start. You should know how you look leading up to peak week. And I like to officially start it with the carb up on Tuesday because that's when things change. Monday, here, I'll put this back up. Monday, get my laser pointer. Monday, you train, you do your cardio, and you do your normal diet. Your water's the same. Your salt should be, high enough. Monday, everything's the same. Tuesday's when things start to change. That's when you do your refeed, right? So that's normally, I like to say that's when everything starts. Yeah, Kelly, Brandon, we're super excited. And then after the Pro Universe, then we have some more heavy hitters coming up. I can't actually say what she's doing, but we have some more pros competing, more people going for pro cards in Kansas City, and then it's just all the way until Thanksgiving. So I'll be posting a lot of updates. I'm going to keep this up and going. I'm going to try and do 4 to 5 of these a week until you guys get tired of me or we can't think of anything to talk about. But I've got some cool stuff planned, so we'll keep these going. Last chance, guys. Any questions on the Bulletproof Peak Week? Anything at all? We've talked about. Oh, okay. So here, let me talk about this. I do like to pull out artificial sweeteners, like from Wednesday, Thursday, all the way until the day of the show. So I'll talk about those in a second. Do proteins and fats stay the same? Here's the thing, man. Eric, just normal protein, carbs, and fats that you've been eating. After you do the carb up on Tuesday, keep everything the same. Your train day diet on Wednesday, Thursday, your off day diet on Friday. Keep that stuff the same. There's no use to be changing that around. Artificial sweeteners. So I do like to pull people's artificial sweeteners out for the most part, except for things like whey protein. And this is just what I've noticed anecdotally, and I've talked with other friends of mine like Cliff Wilson and a few others. They've just noticed there's no literature on this, but when you pull out a lot of artificial sweeteners like sweetened BCAAs, pull out the Splenda, the Waldens, the freaking white trash energy drinks, like pull all that stuff out. We've all noticed people just seem to tighten up just a tad, and I can't explain it. I've noticed people have dropped. Sometimes they'll drop an extra pound that week, and that's before they start up in the water. So, and sometimes they don't even need to up the water. But I've just noticed people tighten up from dropping it out. Now, am I a bro because I said that? I don't know. I'm half bro, to be honest with you, because I believe in shit that I see that I can't explain. So I like to actually have people pull it out. Liquid stevia. So here's the thing. I don't really worry too much about stevia, but I just have people pull all their sweeteners. It's just a few days. So when they, if they're having coffee with sweetener and all that stuff in there, just for the last few days, or if they're drinking, white trash energy drinks to get caffeine or pre-workouts before you train and you need caffeine, just go to Walmart, the aspirin section, and get this little bottle of Jet Alert or Stay Awake or whatever, Equate caffeine tabs, and just have those. That way you get the caffeine, you don't have a caffeine headache or anything like that. But you're dropping the sweeteners out. Someday, I hope, and Jake Wilson, if you're watching this, or anyone else that likes to actually look at stuff in the lab, I would love to actually see if we could figure this out, because I've just noticed it. If there's not a difference, I don't know. Maybe it's just coinciding with us up in the water on Thursday and Friday, but I have noticed people get leaner. A lot of the times I tell people to take out carbonated drinks because a lot of the times when you have a lot of carbonation, your stomach will push out just a little, and if it's just a tiny, tiny microscopic detail that we take out a lot of the carbonated drinks and stuff, and your waist just stays a little bit smaller than normal, that's a bonus. So I'm all about optimizing those little things. So I tell people, take out the energy drinks, take out the diet soda the last couple of days, just so your waist stays small, you feel good, and you feel confident. I tell people, nail your fiber. Don't eat a ton of vegetables, on Thursday and Friday, and you've got your stomach distended out or anything like that. Hit your fiber. Should be like 30 fiber a day is fine. But really keep everything just normal. Don't add in a bunch of fiber and stuff like that, or vegetables, because you're super hungry. So those are just some of the small things that I like to add during peak week. Honestly, I should have just pulled one of my peak weeks up and just read it right off to you guys. Some of the cool things I had people do. Just little stuff like that. Keep creatine in, keep in all the other supplements, right? So like HMB, if you're taking HMB, keep that in. D-aspartic acid, if you're using a natural test booster, keep that in. It doesn't seem to cause any issues. Yohimbine. So someone asked about fat burners earlier. Yohimbine's been shown to cause a slight amount of water retention. From what I read that somewhere, I can't even remember where. It was enough to where all right, we'll pull it out. basically after you refeed, just pull it out. Tuesday is fine. Your fat burning is going to be interrupted on Tuesday anyway. So with all the extra carbs. So just pull it out starting on Tuesday all the way to the day of the show, and you shouldn't have to worry about any kind of water retention with Yohimbine. Tanning bed. I tell people, stay out of the tanning bed during peak week. And most people are like, oh yeah, I don't want my skin to peel or anything like that. Well, yeah, you definitely don't want that. But here's the thing. If you burn your skin, right, it's going to cause a slight amount of water retention there to help repair the cells. So the last thing you want to do is burn your skin or be in a tanning bed, anything like that. During peak week, you should be scrubbing your skin with like sugar scrub and doing everything to exfoliate and get ready for the tan to be accepted onto your skin and look smooth and look right. So definitely stay out of the tanning bed. I don't think I missed anything. Leslie, if you're in the other room watching this on your phone, if you can think of something I've left out, feel free to hop in here. But that's pretty much it as far as all the little tiny details. Eric, I'm going to be honest. I haven't really looked into that one too much. But with Yohimbine, I do like it. I recommend it. The supplement one I did the other night looks like it's down. These broadcasts only stay up for a day, which I think is kind of shitty. I think it sucks. So maybe Periscope will make it to where we can leave these up longer. But what I like to do is I like to combine Yohimbine with acetylcarnitine and caffeine, if someone can take caffeine, and green tea. So I like to have people start with one capsule. If you want to start once a day, twice a day is fine, but don't do more than one capsule at a time. And then just make sure you drop it out on peak week. But Yohimbine's good. So here's the thing. Yohimbine targets the stubborn fat, the A2 receptors, right, that get very little blood flow. So it helps target those areas. I know that sounds like spot reducing and such, but make sure it's Yohimbine HCl, not Yohimbine bark, and it works really well. Am I a contest prep only coach? No. I work with powerlifters. I work with everyday people that want to work their ass off, honestly. I help people get into shape, add muscle. I did the nutrition for a guy that tried it for the NFL last year. Jared Dale and I tag teamed him. He did the training portion. I did the nutrition. Got him ready for his pro day. I've helped wrestlers, basketball players, and just, like I said, just people that want to optimize their physique and look better. Some people just want to diet. I used to work with just a lot of regular folks that just needed to lose weight. But no, now really my main passion is bodybuilding. So I really love helping people get shredded for the stage, having good off seasons, whether they're the first time competitor or they're going for a pro debut, or there's someone going for a world championship. I mean, I love it. That's what I do. But we work with everyone. So there's myself, Leslie, she works with all types of clients too, and Christine Russell as well. So there's three of us. So we really just, we take on clients that after we screen them, they show that they are interested in working their ass off and they're good people. And that's what we do. I missed some of the questions that popped up there, guys. Sorry. If you would throw those back up and I'll answer those for you. Sometimes it takes a while, so I'll give them a few seconds. Be thinking, guys, tomorrow night we're going to do the day of the show. Day of the show nutrition for each different category and situation. How are the white trash energy drinks? You're used to Red Bull. They're good. They're good. I like White Monsters. These are at Come and Go. So how far out do you cut out peanut butter or fats? I don't cut out peanut butter for anything. So here's the thing. Whatever you've been eating leading up to peak week, don't change it. Peanut butter is not going to make you hold water. If you've been eating Pop-Tarts or low-fat ice cream and you look great a week before the show, don't cut it out. You just don't need to. Like I said, if you want to play around and drop out the sweeteners and stuff, try that during peak week. But even if you look great with all that in, then just don't drop them out. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to cut out peanut butter or anything like that. You don't have to worry about things with salt in them and cutting all that stuff out. Hell, I've seen people boil their damn chicken and shit. So, like trying to get rid of all the salt, like rinsing out their tuna. Just, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, exactly. So if it's been working, why change everything in the end? And that's the thing. You want to be ready or close to ready coming into peak week. Is it okay if I train after my first meal in the morning, which is keto? Got to train early in the morning. Yes, very much so. So here's the thing. Wake up, have whey protein if you can. Get that in your system quick. Some MCT would be great because those are in your system just like that. They are medium chain triglyceride fats that digest very fat and they burn like carbs. So maybe have some whey and coconut oil and some added MCTs, or maybe have some whey, some peanut butter, and then more MCTs, and then head to the gym. Those will extend out for hours. Fats burn for hours, so that'll fuel your workout. So that's perfectly fine. Any other questions that I might have missed that popped up? When do you allow your clients to start training again post-show? Okay, and what's the lowest fat intake you've had someone on? Percentage. So here's the thing. I'm not real. We'll talk about post-show here in a second. So fat percentages, right? I've had guys eating 400 to 500 carbs, eating 50 grams of fat, and taking in 180 grams of protein. That would show that their fat intake is super low. Percentage-wise, well, it is low in comparison to their other macronutrients, especially carbohydrates, right? And then usually once I get carbs high, I'll start to raise their fats as well. So it might show that their percentage is too low, but they're still eating 50 grams of fat. If it's a 170-pound guy, still eating 50 grams of fat, which is fine. But eventually you need to slowly raise those up if you can once carbs get super, super high. So, if that guy was only eating 250 grams of carbs and eating 50 grams of fat, his percentage would be in the accepted range, but he's still eating 50 grams of fat, if that makes sense. So the main thing is I like to try and get my guys to 50 grams of fat or higher. If I can get them anywhere from 50 to 80 in the off season, with their carbs as high as we can get them. For most people, not everyone's a carb person. That's what I try and do. So play with carbs and fats a little bit different there. Women, I've had women just fine on 30 grams of fat if they're someone that can only eat, 1,700 calories. Once I get them up to around 2,000 or more, I like to really start focusing on fats because I like to spend as much time as I can getting their carbs up and then slowly adding their fats in. So their metabolism is burning so fast and fast enough, when I slowly add the fats, I don't have to worry too much about fat gain. I might just add like 5 grams of fat here. And I like to try and get my women to 40, at least 40 once I've been with them for a while. Some people are fine on 30, but that's the lower end. I try not to go lower than that. Some I can get up to 50, 60. It just depends on the person. So when do I allow? Well, first of all, I don't allow my clients to do anything. I talk to them about it. So post-show, if they're ready to go in, hell, I have people train the day after the show because they just love to train. Sometimes people need a deload. So if they're done for the year, what I do is I tell them to deload the next week if they're ready. Some people are so motivated, they just want to go train again that week. Go train. Then have your deload the week after. So I'm not real big on taking a whole week off. I used to be, unless you just really, your joints need it really bad. But I like to really tell most people to go ahead and just do a deload week that week. Still train the body parts. Just do like 30 rep sets. Don't go to failure. Just go and have fun. Bro it up. Whatever you want to do. Train wherever the hell body part comes up. Train chest 3 times that week. You just high rep. Just get some blood in there and just have some fun. Get in and out like 30 minutes. And keep the muscle trained because you don't want to untrain the muscle by taking a full week off unless you just really need it and you're hurting bad. And then after that, here's the thing. Most people heading into a show, they're probably getting really close to that overreaching period unless their volumes just stay the same. But there's so many factors there. Some people may need to actually do their deload the week after the show. And what happens is they've been training so hard for like maybe a 20-week prep. They come into the show, they're overreaching, they come into the show, and then they deload the next week. They start to actualize those gains during prep. So when they start their off season, they take a deload, and then they slowly start ramping their training back up, and they actualize all those gains, and they can put on a lot of that lost muscle from during prep. They can put it on pretty quick. So I know that people talk about post-show rebound, and I don't really believe in that. I think there's a post-show fat rebound, but you can put on lost muscle pretty fast. So a lot of the nuclei is already built, so it comes back quicker and things like that. So usually deload is what I recommend. I know I went off a lot more than what you asked for. So yeah, that's fine. I just tell people just do 20, 30 rep sets. Just go get some blood in there and have fun. Go hang out with a buddy and go train you haven't got to train with because you've been so tied up in prep or just whatever. Just go have fun. And just do high rep sets and just don't push yourself to failure. Let your CNS have a break. Any other questions, guys? In a cutting phase, do I change from low reps to high reps? Actually, I have my clients hitting all rep ranges when they're cutting for a show. You should hit the heavy, So here's what I think for bodybuilding, right? What I call the heavy rep ranges are maybe in the 6 rep range, right? The hypertrophy rep ranges are 8 to 12-ish, and the higher rep ranges are 15 to 20, maybe even 20 to 30. So I have clients usually train 6 days a week for most people, right? And I like the push-pull legs set up for most people. They do a heavy push, a heavy pull, and a heavy legs day, and then they have a hypertrophy push, a hypertrophy pull, and a hypertrophy leg day. And one set of workouts, they do the 6 to 8 rep ranges. Sorry, I gotta block some dipshit real quick. All right. So they hit like the 6 rep range for their heavy days, and then the other days that they do that body part, they hit the 8 to 12 and the 15 to 20. So I have to take advantage of all rep ranges because you want to take advantage of all rep ranges for growth and muscle retention. Hope that answers that question for you. Anyone else besides some random 15-year-old that just wants to jump in and say stupid shit? You have to love Periscope. I guess they're not keyboard warriors, they're texting warriors or whatever. No? 1 week before peak week starts, best way to burn the last bit of body fat. Okay, so hey, Eric, you know what? That's a good question. So here's the thing. I'm not going to throw anyone out there, but I have a female. I don't know if she's in here right now. I'm not going to throw you out there, so if you want to speak up, you can. But I have a female that's like, man, she's like right there, and she's getting ready to compete here pretty soon. And what we did is I actually ramped up her HIIT cardio for like 8 days in a row, right? And she's on keto. And this is something else I want to talk about with keto. So she's going to train first thing in the morning, right? Just train. And then she's going to get the afterburn from her training where you burn a bunch of fat in the 5 to 6 hours of everything after she trains, right? Then in the evening, she's going to go do her HIIT cardio. Then when she's going to do it before her last meal. And then when she goes to bed, when you go to bed, you actually you just burn body fat. Well, when you're keto, you really just burn fat, right? So you burn fats for fuel and body fat for fuel and what have you while you're sleeping. So it makes sense to do your HIIT cardio before your last meal. So your fat burning is elevated while you're just sleeping there. You torch fat, right? So I've had her just for 8 days. Maybe it's 8 or 9. Train in the morning, stay on keto, do her HIIT cardio at night, eat her last meal, and go to bed, right? That's going to maximize her burning as much fat as possible. That's my theory. That's what I believe, because I like to look into these things. I like to look into the tiny details. I think that's more optimal than if she just got up in the morning, trained, did her HIIT cardio, got a big boost of fat burning during the day, and then she goes to bed and that fat burning has kind of slowed back down to just normal. I'd rather boost it twice and get that really big fat burning episode when she's sleeping, because that's when fat fuels your sleep, fuels your body, the process your body while you sleep. So I like to do something like that closer to the show. If we have to pull out something, like pull out a little trick the last week or two, that's what I like to do. I like to maximize HIIT cardio. We pulled all of our steady state out. I think that shit's garbage, but some people need it. We pull that out. Cortisol drops a little bit if you've been doing quite a bit of steady state cardio. Most people look better. I'm smiling because I just got a thumbs up. But so here's the thing, right? But that works. And yes, calories stay the same. Eric, you asked, do calories stay the same? They do. How quickly can keto start working? Do you ever switch someone to keto 3 to 4 weeks out? Hey, Drew, good question, man. And I know I missed your last one here a couple days ago. Corey asked me that again here in a second. So how fast does keto work? I have this button I call the oh shit button, and I push it. And I push that, and I turn someone over from carbs to a keto-based plan when I need them to get lean really, really fast. And it's worked here a ton of times. 3 to 4 weeks out is the perfect time. So I try to save that when someone just has the last 3 to 4 to 5 pounds that they need to lose. When I'm making carb drops and up in cardio and the body's just not responding and they're not dropping anything, when I switch out their carbs for fats and I take them high-fat keto, I've noticed over the years, now we don't drop their calories, we just switch them out to keto. They get lean fast. They get lean really fast. So instead of sitting there trying to fight the carb drops and the added cardio, just switch them to keto. And 9 times out of 10, I've had people look insanely different just 5 to 6 days later. And then by the show, they're ready. I just gave that presentation at the Physique Summit, and I gave examples of like Jessica Cameron. Fernando just won his pro card at the St. Louis Defect Show. We did that with him for like 2 weeks. We switched over Mark Bacon here recently. Mark almost won the Mayhem and everything there. We switched him over to keto and ran him into Masters Nationals. He won the whole damn thing for the 50 and overs and an IFBB pro card. So keto makes a huge difference. I know when I switched him over, it was like a week or two later, we posted pictures, and Tony Friedrich, one of the judges at the shows, one of my friends, he's like, dude, this guy looks insanely different. The only thing we changed was keto. We didn't drop his calories. We just changed him to keto. So keto is the real deal. And I do want to do one of these broadcasts on keto. It's actually one of the books I'm writing next in the Team Gorman Physique Enhancement Series. I want to do advanced keto because there's a lot to say about that. So don't be scared of keto. If you've got 3 to 4 to 5 pounds to lose and you're about 4 weeks out and you're not losing and you're doing everything you can with cardio and dropping carbs and shit and it's not working, dude, hit keto, man. That works quick. If you're a coach, don't be scared. Just don't drop their calories. Just switch them out. Protein can't be high. You have to drop protein down to like a gram per pound. So, yeah, Corey, I think keto is awesome. I think there's too many coaches out there that they're a high carb coach or they're a this coach or that coach. I'm a whatever the fucking works the best coach, because at the end of the day, I want my clients to look good and do their best without me screwing up their body and putting them on some super low calorie plan or something crazy. So, let's see. Are we assuming that keto means less than 100 carbs? More like 30 grams. No, 30 grams is more like keto. You want to keep your trace carbs like super low, and I'm not counting fiber. I like to see people get less than 30 total grams of trace carbs, and then I want them to have about 30 grams of fiber. So if you're counting your fiber, it's probably 60 if 30 grams of that's fiber and the 30 trace carbs. So it really needs to be low. Any other questions on peak week? Okay, carb depletion protocols before peak week and carb load. Okay, so check this out. Here's what a lot of us used to do. You're welcome, Eric. Appreciate the questions, man. So a lot of us used to water load Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Like 2 gallons of water. Shit, I think it was distilled water, right? We didn't know. We thought that's what we were supposed to do, right? Water load, you deplete the hell out of yourself, super low carbs, and you're depleting. And then you make room for the carbs for your carb up on Wednesday, which is fine. So you carb up and you have, I remember once I did it, I ate 1,000 carbs on Wednesday and 1 gallon of water. Thursday, I had 500 carbs and a half gallon of water. And Friday, I had 300 carbs and a quarter gallon of water. And then the day of the show, I kept carbing up. It was probably a few hundred and no water, except around pump up. So the whole concept is you carb up and you dry out. And you're trying to land somewhere right here in the middle to where you're pulling water out of your body. It's supposed to be off your body, but you pull water off while you fill up. But remember what I said earlier, you can't store carbs without water. It just isn't going to happen. What happens is you end up flattening out and you start pulling all of that glycogen out of the water out of your muscle where it needs to be. So that's why the term peaking is, for most time, guys are trying to land on that full but really lean threshold, and it usually goes one way or the other, and they talk about being off. That's why that protocol I just showed you, you don't have to worry about any of that shit, because your timing, the timing is just trying to time it to where you hope you look the best. Oh, I missed my peak by an hour. That shit happens because they're fucking with too many variables is why. And when you just don't have to. You can still look that lean and dry and full doing what I showed you there instead of trying to manipulate everything to try and land right in the middle when you're already there. And then most of the time, if you need to fill out more, you just fill out a little bit more the day of the show, which we're going to talk about. So, any other questions? Why do I dislike lists? Light intensity, steady state, medium intensity, steady state. I don't like it at all, and here's why, Corey. It's a great question. Great guy, by the way. I appreciate you following me. I know you'll have good questions. You're a great athlete. Here's why I dislike it, right? HIIT cardio, first of all. You can do 5 HIIT intervals, and I can't remember the literature, but I saw it when I was in Tampa down at Jacob Wilson's place here a couple years ago. I saw a study somewhere where someone was walking on a treadmill, just walking along for 60 minutes, and someone did 5 hard HIIT intervals like we do, like on the YouTube video. Just Google Team Gorman HIIT, H-I-I-T, and you'll see. It's got like 20,000 views. You can burn more fat doing 5 of those intervals in 5 minutes, right? You can be in the gym for 5 minutes and burn more fat that day than if you walked on the treadmill for an hour. That's why I hate it, because I hate walking on a treadmill. I know my clients do too. The other thing is steady state cardio burns fat while you're doing it, right? It burns it right then. So as soon as you step off and you go about and you start eating again, fat burning is done. HIIT cardio elevates that the post-training oxygen consumption, right? The afterburn is what it's called. So here's the thing. You deplete your body of oxygen so hard when you do these HIIT cardio intervals that for hours, like it can be up to 24 hours if I remember right, just from the literature. I know 6 to 12 is the fat burning is elevated. Your body's trying to replenish all of those oxygen stores, and that process is such a demanding process. Do you know what fuels that process? Fat does, right? So you burn a lot of body fat by doing 5 HIIT intervals, for example, versus walking for 30 minutes or 45 or an hour. And the other thing is steady state just promotes so much cortisol. People are doing tons and tons of it. Cortisol levels are just elevated. Now, I have people on here getting ready to compete that are doing, I think 3 days of 20 minutes or 25. I mean, Brandon, I think, is on here Brandon's doing like 3 or 4 HIIT a week of 5 to 7 intervals, and like 3 to 4 days of 20 minutes or 25 minutes of steady state. I think that's fine to balance them a little bit like that. But out of 200 people that have competed with us in the last 2 years, I went back and looked. I think 3 or 4 have actually done any steady state cardio. So that's the other thing I like to say, and that's not me bragging. That's just saying I like to set their plan up to where they don't have to do a ton of steady state. Most of them can continue to eat a higher amount of food. It keeps their metabolism elevated. It keeps cortisol lower than what it would be with a lot of steady state, and you just get way more bang for your buck. I mean, who the hell wants to be on a treadmill forever? So here's the flip side of the coin. That shit's hard, right? If you're a big dude, right? Or a big girl, I guess. But if you're a big guys shy away from that shit. They want to go freaking walk on the treadmill because that's what the big guys do. But I'll tell you, it sucks because that shit hurts when you're big. You know what I mean? Some of these big NPC guys, they don't want to do that shit. Ben Pekulski will. He'll move his big ass around hard. But a lot of guys won't, and it takes guts to train that freaking hard with your HIIT cardio. Most people don't. They'd rather just go walk on the treadmill for an hour or whatever. So that's just what they prefer. It's always worked, and that's what they like. But for me, I've found that my clients they keep their strength more. Their stage weight has been higher when they don't do steady state and they only do HIIT, and they feel better. So that's hundreds of clients I'm talking about that I've seen this with. So people always want to say, John, why don't you debate with so-and-so about HIIT cardio versus steady state? I'm like, my clients show up shredded, they feel better, they have more strength, more muscle retention because their stage weight's higher. I don't need to argue with anyone about it. I like to just, like Corey, you asked here, I like to explain what I've seen, but I'm definitely not interested in arguing. I can't argue with what I've seen because it's legit. It's the real deal. Hope that answers your question, Corey. But that's what I've seen, and that's why I don't like a lot of steady state. Okay, what kind of cardio for someone on? What kind of cardio if you're on HIIT? Or I mean, if you're on keto? HIIT cardio is the best, because here's the thing: if you don't eat carbs, carbs cancel out. So carbs cancel out cortisol levels, right? For a short period of time. So if you're on keto, cortisol is naturally going to stay elevated, unless you're having like intra-workout carbs, like a TKD setup, and that'll block cortisol for a little bit. But here's the thing. The last thing you want to do is be on a keto diet doing a bunch of steady state cardio, which raises cortisol even more, which promotes muscle tissue breakdown, slowing of the metabolism, and fat storage. The last thing that you want to do is do steady state cardio while on keto. The best thing to do is do HIIT, because HIIT essentially is a workout. I mean, you burn, it's like when you work out, you burn stored glycogen and such. It's an extension of your workout. So if you go do the battle ropes, right, and you're just freaking getting after it, your arms are burning, and then you have that afterburn period where you burn body fat. HIIT is the best thing to do while on keto. Definitely the best. I definitely don't want my clients doing much steady state on keto. Guys, I missed some of the questions that popped up. Ask those again. I have a hard time if I'm talking and I read the stuff that pops up, I'll be all over the place. I'm still trying to figure this app out. What's up, Cheryl? I saw you just joined. Any other questions, guys? Going once, twice. All looking like Mr. Miyagi and shit with my goatee. Do you have some good examples of some high-intensity cardio workouts? Okay, if you just joined, go to YouTube, type in Team Gorman HIIT, HIIT. You're going to see, and just go to our page, you're going to see I have battle ropes on there, ball slams, prowler, and the best one you'll see is on the spin bike. It's got like 20,000 views. It's the right way to do HIIT cardio. Check those out. That should be all that you need. I mean, you can go out and do hill sprints. I mean, that shit sucks, I promise you. Here's the thing. The harder it is, and the more you want to lay down and just try and catch your breath, the more fat burning you're going to get in that afterburn period of doing the HIIT cardio. You're welcome, Lisa. Thanks for tuning in. So, guys, swipe across the bottom of the screen if you haven't already. Hit share and share this with your followers. We want to get this out to as many people and help them as possible. You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions? How often do I broadcast? So this is like my fifth one. I'm going to try and do like 4 or 5 of these a week. I could do more, but I don't want to run out of shit to talk about. I don't want you guys to get bored. So we did Bulletproof Peak Weeking Part 1. I'm going to talk about the day of the show and what to eat probably tomorrow or Tuesday. It's looking like tomorrow night, guys. Watch my Facebook page, right? That's where I post up. I'll post up what's going on, the times, the whole 9 yards. So at least 4 or 5 of these a week. Probably won't do them on the weekends because we travel to our client shows or I have my boys, my little boys. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, man. Will I be talking about a more advanced peak week? I guess. Yes, I definitely will. I'm going to talk about backloading. I'm going to talk about rapid backloading, not to be confused with the way Cliff does things, because I don't do things like Cliff. I have my own method that's worked. I'm going to talk about my approach to loading really hard on a Friday and the day of the show. This is going to be like probably like 3 to 4 to 5 parts on peaking. This is the easy one I want to get out of the way, because this is what 9 out of 10 people need. If you're just joining in, 9 out of 10 people show up to show they're not lean enough, or they just need a simple peak week. That's what this was. Awesome, Drew. Awesome. All right, guys. Any other questions? Do too many of these, no one's will go to the seminars. Yeah, but these disappear after a day. So maybe someone needs to do this at our next seminar so people can check this out. I don't know. Cliff will probably kill me for saying that, but it's only going to be up for a day. He doesn't have Periscope anyway, so. Yeah, I know YouTube has this and other people are coming out. I'm just going to do this for now. Keep it simple. I have this shit figured out, so I'm going to stay with this. I start trying to learn too much. I'm too old for that stuff, so. Any other peak week question, guys? Anything that you want to ask, now's the time. If not, we're going to be doing one tomorrow and the next day and Thursday as well. Friday and Saturday, I'll be gone. Do I have other social media? Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at team_Gorman. Type in Team Gorman and Facebook. And then I'm John Gorman. You'll see my profile picture is of me and Mark Bacon. You'll see I have the Team Gorman shirt on. But yeah, that's my social media. So, any other questions, guys? Appreciate all the hearts. I'm gonna be hooking this week. Maybe giving this stuff out to you guys. Be hooking you up, hooking it up, and I plan on doing stuff like this on a regular basis. So, I'm getting ready to do a big 250 away for the people that bought my book off Amazon and they leave a review. If you're watching and you bought my book off Amazon, go leave a review. I'm going to be drawing here on 9/1, September 1st, giving away $250 worth of online shopping. You go pick out whatever you want, order, and it goes to your house. Amanda, don't forget your hearts. I'll be taking away a bunch of your damn food and shit. Frozen yogurt. Give hearts, folks. I appreciate it. I see who gives them. I see who doesn't. So, if I message you a pic on Facebook, can you let me know if I'm lean enough? I have tough skin. Yeah, I'm fine with that, Eric. Sometimes it takes me a while. And listen, I'm not trying to say this to act like I'm, super busy or I'm the man or something like that, but I get so many messages on there, it might take me a few, especially if it's on a weekend or if it's late. Facebook, I don't make my priority. I make my emails my client's priority each day. So I'll get to it. Just be patient. But yeah, send me a picture. I'll be glad to give you some feedback, and I'll show you. If you're needing to know what lean enough looks like, I'll send you some pictures and give you an idea so you know how hard to push. Just be ready, because I'm that guy that people know that I don't bullshit. I just tell you the truth. And people respect that. So if you're not lean enough, I'll tell you. But I'll be real with you. I'll be real. If you have another 5, 6, 7 pounds to lose, I'll be honest with you. All right, that's cool. All right, guys. Couple more questions, and I'm going to shut it off because this thing's going to be so long, people won't be wanting to watch it on the replay. So that's another thing about this app that sucks. You can't fast forward, so hopefully they'll fix that too. So, any other questions? All right, guys. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, probably be around the same time, probably 8 o'clock Central Time. If not, it depends on how late our class goes. It might be 9. But watch my Facebook page, John Gorman, or the Team Gorman Facebook page. Hey, you're welcome, Corey. You're welcome, man. Glad to be surrounded by cool people like you guys that'll ask questions that actually want to hear the shit that I have to say. You're welcome, Eric. You're welcome. The more people that I can help doing stuff like this, the better. I'm not even taking on clients right now, guys. So this isn't something I'm trying to do to try and get people and clients. I might take on one here or there, but we're busy doing other things. We're traveling to shows. We're getting ready to travel damn near every weekend until Thanksgiving. We're working on other stuff. We got a big announcement for this Physique Summit. Just wait, guys. Flyers done. Wait till you see who we have coming. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, I'm not trying to do this to get clients or anything like that right now. This is just to give back. I want to do this to be able to help people out, and that's it. So, all right, guys. Have a great night. Tune in tomorrow night. Bring the questions. Bring the heat. Don't be afraid to ask anything. You guys did great this time. You asked some really good questions. I think we pretty much covered everything. Day of the show is the next topic. We're going to go into this in detail and knock it out. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm going to go find my beautiful fiance, go lay on the couch with her and watch some Netflix. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow.